And a lot of times that's when I have a serious conversation. I say, hey, look, you need to analyze your circumstances right now.
Hmm.
You're going to have to really try hard right now for the next couple weeks. Because remember this phrase, Rome was not built in a day. Your studying isn't done in a weekend. Well, some people do it. I think they're
On
amazing for
drugs?
doing
Oh,
it. Or maybe Adderall, I don't know, or something like that. But I say, look, if you have to sit down with your family, your friends, and start talking to them and figure out some times in the day, whether it's waking up an extra hour earlier or maybe after work. Usually I say do it in the morning. I don't know how you guys function. Some people are night owls, some people function in the morning early. I personally like mornings. And squeeze in that extra practice test. Squeeze in what really I just establish a strategy with them because I really try to tailor the strategy to the individual. So if I was talking to you, I'd give you a completely different answer than I was talking to Billy, Joe, Bob, or something.
yep.
So it really depends. The answer is, yeah, you lose that motivation. You need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps and get back on it. Get to the strategy we recommend. If you want to know what that strategy is, my
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Young Electrician Podcast. My name is Ruben Young, aka the Young Electrician. Here in this podcast, we like to see electricians grow, not just in the field, but also in their personal lives. We believe that your work life and your home life shouldn't compete with each other, but they should complement each other. With that said, I have two very special guests today on the podcast. I am super excited. They are from the Contractors Intelligence School. This is the school that I went to get my C10 contracting license. And in my opinion, this school is invaluable. This is a school that I recommend to everybody. You guys have heard me talk about this probably on my podcast or on the YouTube channel or on the Instagram. So welcome, Andrew and Hector. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. Yeah, thank you
Not
for
both at
having
the same
us.
time, though.
yeah, that's the goal.
Sorry, there's two of you, so I've rarely done two people on a podcast before. But how you guys doing?
I'll let Andrew go first.
Go ahead, Andrew.
I'm doing fantastic. Yeah, of course, name's Andrew. Not that important, as I always like to say. What's important is you ready, you know? Kick it off, Hector. It's all you now.
Awesome. All right. So, yeah, Hector Garcia. I am as an instructor as well, just like Andrew. Not as long in the game as he has, right? Like I said, 10 plus years is Andrew. And I'm also in charge of social media marketing here at Contractors Intelligence School.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I greatly appreciate you guys coming on to this podcast because I brag about your guys' school all the time. Even when somebody's taking another course for contracting, I tell them they should go to the Contractors Intelligence School. So, yeah,
we accept all.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate you guys coming on to the podcast and giving this time. Can you guys just give a brief introduction of who you are, what you do at this school, just so the audience can get familiar with you guys? We'll start with Andrew this time.
All right, no problem. Yeah. So, of course, we are Contractors Intelligence School. We are an exam prep school that helps existing, I guess, personnel working in the field who have 4 years of experience obtain their contractor's license. And hopefully we try to do it with some style, some pizzazz, make it as fun as possible. Did I miss anything, Hector?
No, I think you got a lot. Yeah, like you said, we're an exam prep school for the CSLB specifically. Let me rephrase that. We don't represent the CSLB. We help people pass the CSLB exam if they're wanting to become licensed contractors in the state of California. And so my role here, once again, is an instructor as well as a head of social media marketing, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so let's hop right into it. We're going to talk about contracting today. The goal of today is I want people listening to this that want to become contractors or interested in becoming contractors to kind of have that veil pulled back so they could get a clear path in what their next step should be. And kind of just hopefully the whole process from right now to when they finally get that contracting license in the mail. So I want to ask you guys, let's start off with this. What are the requirements for somebody to become a C10 contractor in California?
All right, let me tackle that one. Basically, three major requirements. Number one, you can't be a little 12-year-old. You have to have at least, well, you have to be at least 18 years old. You got to be responsible, have a driver's license, things like that. Because when you check in for the exam, I got to check that it's you. Anyway, 18 years old, number one. Number two, have 4 years of journeyman level experience in the field. Not I worked for dad a couple weeks on the weekends, but 4 years of journeyman level. I know what I'm doing. I can be doing the job by myself without supervision. That's the key word. And finally, have a Social Security or an ITIN, and you can pursue your contractor's license in California.
Awesome. So I tripped up on this because I got my journeyman license like 2 years before I pursued the C10. So what do they mean by journeyman level? Because somebody's going to hear that. They're not even a journeyman. They're going to think, I can't take the exam because I'm not a journeyman. So what does that mean?
Gotcha. See, in California, since we're all California, right?
I think so.
The electrical, typically there's tiers or steps, I guess, if you will. You would obtain your experience either going through a union apprenticeship, possibly working in the field for someone, but to become a journeyman, you have to pass a journeyman certification exam. That's not what we do. We're a little bit beyond that. We're at a contractor's license. So the journeyman certification, the one thing I usually tell people is that test is actually more complicated than the state C10 exam because on the journeyman certification, you get a code book. The C10, closed book, man. So, journeyman, pass that exam, get your 4,000, 8,000 hours if you want to be a master electrician or what have you. And then after being a journeyman, either certified or working for a licensed contractor for 4 years, 48 months full time, go pursue your C10. Become this guy.
Heck yeah. So one thing I understood from when I took the exam or when I was filling out the paperwork is that the journeyman level work didn't mean you actually had to have a journeyman license. It meant you needed to be able to work. You worked on your own without supervision for 4 years, correct? You don't actually need a journeyman license to become a contractor.
There's a little bit of a confusion, especially around the C10, because for that one, if we lived in a perfect world, everyone who applies for the C10 classification is a certified journeyman. But that's not always the case. So there's always going to be exceptions. Yep. You can have people coming from different countries bringing their electrical experience with them.
Yeah.
So how do they show that type of experience? Well, someone still has to sign off, certify their experience. But in a perfect world, the state would want everybody to become certified journeyman and then apply for the contractor's license. But like you just mentioned, it's not always the case. Sometimes employees work for a company that has a C10 license. And if you're an employee there, probably an EIT, electrician in training or what have you, and then you are obtaining all that skill and knowledge from your employer, and then your employer says, hey, man, I trust you. I know your work has been amazing. I'm going to send you to those job sites, and you do a fantastic job. I don't even have to babysit you anymore.
Yep.
Journeyman level. That contractor can sign off, certify your experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you know when I was looking through the paperwork, if an employee from that company could also sign off on your hours?
You have options. Actually,
I was like, wow, okay, the bar's low.
Well, you have options. I would say the way it's listed on the application for the contractor's license is kind of a good way to see hierarchically what's appropriate. So the employer, the boss of the company, is a pretty good option.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be the boss. There's a spot for contractor who's licensed, of course. So a licensed contractor who says, yeah, I know what you did. I can attest under penalty and perjury. I know what you're doing is amazing work. Plus, you're the best, right?
Yep.
Then you can have a fellow employee, a coworker. You can also have a union representative, if that's an option for you. You know what? Even a business associate can sign off on your experience. We typically recommend somebody who has knowledge and somebody with qualification, that being licensed contractors, usually my recommended at the top of the list.
Nice. Yeah. Because you don't want them to question your application. Easy as possible. Yeah. All right. That's awesome.
Well, Andrew, I have a question.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm building a house, right? I've been living there for 12 months. I just bought this thing a year ago. Can my wife sign off?
Ooh, she could sign off.
Yeah.
Technically, anybody who has direct knowledge of your experience can sign off. But if the state tends to or ends up auditing your experience, you're going to have to provide the paperwork, the, well,
Material receipts,
receipts,
contracts,
contracts,
permits.
for sure. Permits with your name on it, specifically the stuff you've done. One thing maybe I'd like your viewers to know, if someone gets audited for whatever reason and the state is requesting permits, anything that licensed contractors have performed cannot count as your experience.
Okay. So if you hired somebody else to do it,
Correct.
all right, all right. And then in that case, your wife will be going to prison for correct?
No, it's usually a slap on the wrist.
Okay, good. Good to know. All right, let's say somebody meets these requirements, right? Because some of the people that listen to this have no idea what to do. And that's a big fear factor for people and what prevents us from moving forward. What do you think what would be the steps? I know nothing about contracting. I meet all the requirements. What are the steps that I need to take to get me from where I'm at now to being a C10 contractor? Probably a big question, but however you want to answer
Many steps.
it, just give us some brief steps.
All right, I'll go ahead and tackle that one again. The steps are: give us a call, 1-800-425-7570, and we'll just make the process as easy as possible. Remember, you can get your license all by yourself with nobody's help. That's one option. It does require you to read through the literature the CSLB provides, the application itself, which is about 20 pages and so on. But really, yeah, I do encourage, if I was telling my friend, my brother, my cousin, my uncle, whoever, like, hey, you want a license? Well, here's what you should do. Number one, check to see if you have those 4 years of experience. Because while it would be amazing to submit an application and the state just approves it and you go schedule your test, that'd be amazing. I like to be a realist, and 3% of applicants, no matter what, at random, you're selected and you have to prove your experience. So number one, make sure you have the experience, and then apply. Fill out the application. Make sure you find someone to certify your experience, whether it is your boss, an employee, maybe you're the boss, maybe you have an employee, or a fellow employee, a coworker, somebody to sign off. So apply. Then you have to prepare for 2 exams. Well, that's probably where we come in.
Yep.
Get enrolled into a course. You'll have to pass 2 exams: the law and business exam. People call it the business law, but it's called law and business in California. And then the C10, the trade exam. So once your application is going through the process of approval, you're using that time and not wasting any to prepare yourself. Use our courses, you'll be all set. And then when you schedule your own exam, when it's time, show up to the test center, pass the exams. You have to schedule the law separately from the trade exam. I know some people misunderstand that. They usually schedule one, pass it, and like, where's my license? No, buddy. You still have to pass the other one. So really easy to miss. Can't blame them. But once you pass both tests, believe it or not, you're still not a licensed contractor. There's still a process to follow. Of course, we're kind of holding your hand along the way, and we make this process really easy, or we try to at least. But some people, they pass the exams and we never hear from them again. Fall off the face of the earth. And then sometimes they get their license. Sometimes they call me back like a year or 2 later, say, hey, I got really busy after passing my test. Do you happen to know what my license number is? Sorry, buddy. You have to call the CSLB. There's still fingerprinting you got to do. There's still a couple of steps after the fact.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a little process.
That was good to know. On your first point of advice, calling you guys, I'm going to say that's the thing that really pushed me over that line to actually pursue it, because one of my buddies was getting his contracting license and I was like, screw it, I'm going to do it too. Whatever. And yours is the only school that I kind of knew about from another guy. I filled out the application online or whatever, and then somebody called me, and I was like, "Oh crap, I got to talk to somebody." But and we stood on the phone for probably like 30 or 40 minutes, and he answered every single question that I had. And because I knew nothing about getting the process, and having that clarity from just talking on the phone with one of your representatives gave me what I need, the information I needed to actually help me to, take that step. So that's actually, it sounded funny. You just threw your number out there, but that's actually really good advice and it's very helpful. Um, no, that's awesome.
Yeah,
And
I just sorry to interrupt you, Ruben.
no, go ahead, please.
I just want to highlight what you just mentioned. I think a lot of people hesitate in general, right? Like not just at our school, anywhere. People, nobody wants to be sold to, right? So
Yeah.
they're like, oh God, I submitted this
Yeah.
information, but now they're actually calling me and I don't want to deal with somebody trying to sell me something, right? So that's not our approach. We're not trying to sell you anything. We want to genuinely help you out, provide you the information that you need that's relevant, just like, what we just mentioned. And if it makes sense for you, then great. Let's see if it's worth it moving forward. So just one thing I want to highlight for the audience, people that are listening, like we're not trying to sell you anything. We're genuinely wanting to help you because it's a lot easier than most people expect to get your contractor's license. And, it sounds like a sales pitch, but it really is that simple, right? Like, hey, call, find out, do I qualify? Great. And if I do, I'm going to submit everything through Contractors Intelligence School. We make sure the application process is thoroughly vetted to make sure it's actually accepted by the CSLB.
Yeah.
And then from there, all you have to do is schedule your exams, right? One other thing I just want to go back and highlight is we highly encourage from a study tactic or strategy is focusing on passing one exam first. Call it, law and business one or your trade one. But that way you can focus on passing that and then move on to studying for the next one. So just a quick tidbit for people that are interested.
Yeah, that is good. I know some people that took both tests on one day, and I was like, bro, I would have quit. That's so boring. I would have walked out. But yeah, focusing on one at a time. I did that. I studied through all the material, and then when I was actually going to take the law and business, which was the first one I took, I just focused on that for like 2 weeks, and then the same thing. I had the other one scheduled out for a couple weeks after that, and that is great advice.
Yeah, yeah, and I just once again just to highlight, a lot of people just hesitate on, I mean, I think I might have it actually right here, right? Like you'll get a package from us, and then so when you're getting that in the mail, you're getting like actual instructions from us on like what to do.
Yep.
But I mean, most people get the actual like application. It's like 20 pages that they download, and some people don't even have a printer, right? But like you got to figure that out. Like, don't make
Yep.
it harder for yourself, right? We make it extremely easy to like fill this application out while also providing it on the mobile app so that you can easily download, send to our team. They'll review it. I mean, it's 2024. We make it super easy, user friendly for people to fill out all this information. That way, it's one less hurdle. Because as I mentioned to you before, prior to this call, right? I said, hey, I'm just curious to ask you some questions. Ruben's like, what were the doubts and the fears you had, right? You just said like, oh, I might as well just call and find out. But what was stopping you before, right? What was like, oh no, I don't need to get it, or only right? And I'm just thinking from the perspective of other students or potential students, like, what's blocking you from going after your contractor's license, right? Is
Yeah.
it just too complicated? Does it seem too complicated? Is it too convoluted? Or, maybe we just don't have the time for it. Maybe it's not a priority, but I'll give the mic back to you, Ruben. I'm curious what that looked like for you prior to applying for your contractor's license.
Okay. No, that's good. I think that is a very great question. For me, contractors, well, for in my life, I'm a four-time dropout. They got a GED, when I was taking a vacation for a couple of years up north. And so I've never viewed myself as somebody who is educated or well educated or who could attain something like business ownership. So when I heard of, when I think about the guy on top or the contractor, that the owner of the company, I think of somebody who's well educated, who's probably did really well in school, probably came from a good family. I had all these bad ideas of it. So when it came to contracting, I didn't realize you didn't have to go to, college to do it. And I had those doubts inside of me that I'm not, of course I could perform the work, but managing a business, filling out all the paperwork correctly, dealing with the state, knowing what to study. I think the number one thing was knowing what to study. Because
Mm-hmm.
what do you study? There's law and
Mm-hmm.
business. I know nothing about law and business.
Mm-hmm.
Had a couple court cases, but that's all I know about law and business. Um, Trade side, I know that. I could probably pass that, but the law and business side is one of the things that held me back. And how to fill out this paperwork is another thing that held me back. The fear of feeling inadequate and not being able to, it just seemed like such a high thing. A business owner, an electrical contractor, that seems so unattainable to me. And I think those are probably the three things.
Man, that's I love that. I'm just like trying to take the time to absorb that because believe it or not, there's so many people that like create this narrative in their head, and
Yep.
in my past life as well as a coach, the one thing that I learned is like this simple phrase, like the story that I tell myself, right?
Yeah.
The story, like you make up all these things. It's like, oh my God, I can't slay that dragon. When in reality, it's like this tiny gecko, this lizard, like, oh, that was it. Right. And I love that you shared that. It really does. And, what stood out to me the most was like, oh, well, you got to go to college and you got to be like this highly educated individual to be a contractor. And in reality, it's not that hard. Right. Like, meaning like just go after it, figure out the steps, fell forward faster so you can get back up and figure out what you need to do next.
Yeah.
That's something that really just speaks to me, and I'm hoping it speaks to the audience because there's people are scared of failure. It's natural, right?
Yeah.
But the best way to learn is from making those mistakes and then getting back and be like, okay, cool. Now I know I don't do that, right? Let's just go back to the application process. Like I said, it might be 20 pages, but in reality, if you actually filter through it, it's only about what would you say, Andrew? Like just a
4
couple
pages?
pages.
About 4 or 5 pages. 4 pages for the application and 1 page for the certification, and however many certification pages and how many companies you work for, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just that little step, right? And I'm gonna get all like, hey, believe in yourself and all
Do
of that,
it.
but at the end of the day, that's exactly it, right? Like you just got to do it. That's all. You just got to take action, and you'll find out. So my heart is really happy to hear that. You're like, dude, this is what I thought. This is the story that I created, when in reality, all I did was pick up the phone, call Contractors Intelligence School. 30, 40 minutes later, like, oh, I could do this. Right. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'll let you speak, man. I'm just excited about
No, that is good. I'm excited too. And that's the whole reason I started this podcast, and I'm reaching out to people like you guys, because there's so many people who have that same mindset as me. And the fact that I haven't conquered the mountain yet in life, I haven't got to where I wanted to get to. But I know that if I could move that curtain back for people and let them see these little wins, well, it's a big win. I'm a contractor. I'm a certified journeyman electrician and a contractor. And these are big wins. They're not small, but I want other people to know that these things are attainable. And honestly, a lot of electricians kind of hate their jobs, not because they don't like electrical, but because they feel trapped. Some of them don't want to have somebody tell them what to do. They wish they could just go out and work on their own and get their own business and do their own jobs, but they don't have the information that it's honestly, dude, as Andrew said earlier, the C10 exam, both tests were way easier than the journeyman exam. I finished both of those tests together in less time than it took me to finish the journeyman exam. So it's like it's like way easier. But yeah. All right. So if somebody, this is something that tripped me up when I was first starting out getting my C10 license and taking the course at your guys' school. I didn't realize that if I'm going to have a corporation, I needed that corporation to be in existence before I filled out that paperwork. Correct? So can you guys just speak a little bit on the different forms of getting a license and with either a business or as a sole proprietor?
Okay, I'll take that one. So believe it or not, when you pick up that application, Section 1, Number 1 says full new business name. When you apply for a contractor's license in California, you have to apply as a business. So you have options. The California currently, or CSLB, California the Contractor State License Board currently issues licenses to sole proprietorships, one person. You are the business. You go register your sole proprietorship, either fictitious business name or DBA at your county, or you find someone else and open a partnership. You can apply for a license using a partnership. Another way, as you just mentioned, a corporation. And yes, you have to register your corporation with the California Secretary of State before you complete that application. And then you can always apply as an LLC, limited liability company. That's always an option. It's similar to a corporation. You have to register it. But only the partnership actually requires 2 or more people involved, whereas the corporations, the LLCs, or sole proprietorships, you can be a one-person business owner there and then apply for the license.
Nice. And does your guys' school help with starting a business or any of that type of paperwork?
This is something our school does offer. We have a corporation department. We call it the corporation, but we can help you establish a corporation in California or an LLC. As far as setting up the sole proprietorships, that is not something we do. And partnerships, believe it or not, it's one of those really straightforward things. Just go to your county office, register a business name, or you don't have to even do that if you apply for your license using your first and last name for sole proprietors.
Okay, cool. Because I was like, I didn't even hear about that other thing, registering the DBA. I thought it was just your name. There's so much I don't know about sole proprietorship, so it's good information. Awesome. Yeah, I get emails from you guys once in a while, and I know you guys do a lot more than just the contracting. I don't know if I even want to go off in this direction yet, but is there any other things like that could help a contractor out? Let's say somebody goes to your school or someone just gets their C10 license, they got their business. Is there anything else that your school could help them with after that point?
Our primary, I guess, student is who is interested in obtaining their contractor's license. After the fact, we let you fly.
Nice. Awesome. I dig that. All right. So what are some pros and cons versus, let's just say, sole proprietorship, LLC, C or S Corp?
Copy. All right. This sounds like one of my classes now. Well, sole proprietorship is by far the easiest method of applying for a contractor's license because it's just you. The hardest part, I tell people, the hardest part of becoming a sole proprietorship is thinking of a business name if you want one. You don't have to have one. The pros, very easy to set up. It's little to no startup costs. The drawbacks for sole proprietorships, well, unlimited liability. You are 100% the business. That means your personal assets, your car, your tools, everything you own is part of the business. So if something happens legally within your company, whoever's suing you, they can go after your personal assets. So that's one of the drawbacks. Another drawback for the sole proprietorship is in regards to the license. If you retire, your license retires with you. It does not live on. Let's move on to partnership, because now you got 2 or more people, right?
Yep.
The pros, also super easy to start. Not only do you have to think of a business name, you have to go get a EIN, register your employer identification number. Just go to the IRS website, plug in a couple things, and you get it within like 5-10 minutes.
Nice.
Apply for your license. But the drawbacks, well, it's a professional marriage. That's what it is. And what's kind of interesting in the contractor realm is when you are a contractor as a partnership, it doesn't matter how much you own in the partnership. Everyone is 100% liable for the debts or liabilities of the partnership. And another part is, doesn't matter which partner leaves, you or the other partner, or you bring in a brand new partner, the license is gone. The brand new partnership, or lack thereof, has to apply for a license again. That was just sole ownership partnership. Let's go to corporations. Corporations, the ones, you said something about C and S. You know what a lot of people misunderstand regarding the C and S? It's still a corporation. So when you go register your corporation, it's still that one corporation. By default, California sets your corporation taxation structure as C Corp. That means you get double taxed. If you choose to change it from C to an S, you just send one document to the IRS and you're done. It changes the way your same corporation gets taxed. And corporations have certain structures. They're called, I call them the officer structure, where you have officers who are in charge, like president, secretary, treasurers. Then you have directors and shareholders. And if you're one of those early corporations just opened up recently, you're probably all of these things.
Yes, I am. Yep.
Hey, nice.
Slightly schizophrenic. I got this.
Oh, having those corporate meetings, which I'm not going to mention too much here, but they're the best, especially just have them with yourself, right?
Oh, yeah.
People think you're weird. So corporations, those are the good things. You can have multiple people part of the corporation, and they're listed on your license as officers. The drawbacks is it costs money to open a corporation in California, so registration. But not only that, it costs money to maintain your corporation every year, regardless how you are taxed, whether it's C Corp or S Corp. Your company is taxed. You have a franchise tax. It's $800 a year in California. And then after a certain amount of money, it's no longer 800, it's a percentage.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Well, I guess it's a good problem to have. That means you're making money. And then finally, that was the double taxation part with the C Corp.
Yeah.
But the S Corps, if you change your tax structure, that's kind of nice for newer businesses.
Yep.
Because it's passed through, all the money that comes into the corporation is passed through the company, and you claim it on your taxes. It's called S Corp. So that's the corporation. The good stuff, it separates your business and your personal assets. That's the good stuff. And you can have multiple people on there. You get to change your tax structure if you choose. The drawbacks cost money. And you got to have paperwork involved, have corporate meetings. So that's a corporation. When I finish this, LLC is the next one. After I finish this, I'm going to try to summarize it a little bit. So watch this. Let's go to limited liability companies. Those are also registered in California with the Secretary of State, California Secretary of State. The benefits, the pros, are really similar to a corporation. They're not identical, but they're very similar. In other words, you're still separating your personal and your business assets. Yes, that's good. Somebody sues your LLC, they're not going after your house or your kids. Same thing with corporation. Now, LLCs get to a very flexible taxation structure. Now, this is not something I'm going to go into detail right now. It's best discussed with either a business attorney or a tax professional, because there's a lot of factors that must be considered. What works for your business, what doesn't, if you're an LLC and you're trying to choose how you want to be taxed. Because you can be taxed like a sole owner. You could be taxed like a partnership. You could be taxed as an S Corp even when your business is an LLC.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah. But that's the good stuff. Separates your personal assets and so on. Let's talk about the bad stuff. And this is primarily in construction or having a contractor's license in California. When you're a contractor in California and you applied for the license using the LLC business entity, the license number can only be issued if the LLC has an additional LLC bond. It's a $100,000 LLC bond, which if you talk to insurance agents, I can't give you exact numbers, but they're roughly $2,000 per year, roughly.
Yep.
Just for that. $1 million general liability insurance policy is required just to have an LLC contractor's license. So if you're a corporation, you don't have these two extra things. If you're a sole ownership, you don't have these two things, or partnership. You don't have these. Only LLCs. And then on top of which, it still costs money to register your LLC. And those extra almost like $4,000 per year that LLCs are paying, you don't have to worry about. So what I mean by summarizing, I'm going to go back and summarize. Sole ownership's probably the most popular way to apply for a contractor's license. Majority of people apply for their license as sole proprietorships. That's just what the statistics state. Partnerships, not so much. I'd say the second place would be corporations, primarily having their tax structure as S Corps. Good stuff to do. Yeah. Now, LLCs are probably at the bottom of the barrel because not many people understand all the ins and outs for LLCs and the extra bonding, the extra insurance is a detractor. People don't like that when they hear it, especially since, when we get our applications or students are having us check their applications, when they apply for LLCs, we make them aware. We say, hey, look, you're going to apply for an LLC for this license. Just expect this extra bond, this extra insurance that you're going to have to pay for. They're like, wait, what? My friend didn't do that. Well, yeah, your friend is not an LLC. So that's something we make them aware, and they end up changing their business structure from LLC to maybe an S corp or something else.
Nice.
One thing I just want to kind of go back and thank you for that information, Andrew. Really helpful. That reminder of like, let's not make a mountain out of a molehill, meaning like, hey, just get started, right? Just give us a call. We'll figure it out together, what makes the most sense for you.
Yep.
The goal is just to start, right? Because some people, will get scared and frightened, be like, oh my God, this is too much. You know what? I'm just going to continue working for somebody else because that seems really complicated. When in reality, like Andrew just said, right, most people that start in this are, sole props, right? Sole proprietors.
Yeah.
Right? It's a very quick and simple way to just get started on the license. And then as things progress, your business grows, then you speak with your accountant and say, hey, man, you're making way too much money. You're giving it all to the government. Let's get you under an S corp or a C corp, right? But let's get you there first by starting off, with even your sole prop.
And Hector, I'm going to add to that real quick. I'm just going to speak a little bit about experience. In other words, what my students say. I have students from all over. In other words, I'll have a guy who just opened up his business last night, and versus someone who's been in the field for and even owned a company for over 20 plus years. So while their revenue, their income is really significant, and then he's sitting right next to someone who just opened up their business. The best part is that they're talking to each other. They're making these connections. And the guy who opened up his business last night is asking the other guy questions like, hey, man, so what did you do in the beginning? Or how did this work? And people are, connecting and getting their answers. But bringing back to what Hector kind of was just mentioning, it's always a great place to there is no one set path. What works for your business might not work for someone else.
Yeah.
But here's something more of let's put them inside of these barriers or whatever you want to call them, their lines. If you start as a sole proprietorship, that's great. You have to renew your contractor's license every 2 years anyway. So why not apply for the license, obtain it as a sole prop if you don't know what you're doing, and then be curious, explore, try things out for your business. If your business starts booming, well, great. You will have the money at that point to reapply for the license using your new corporation you just opened up because it became a necessity. That's great.
I'll also say not if, it's when your business starts booming.
Well, yeah. Well, I remember I said I was a realist back a little bit. Yeah, there's this super sad statistic. I sometimes bring it up in class, and I say more than 80% of businesses fail within their first 2 years. That's scary. That's really scary. So if you're listening to the young electrician right now, that's someone who's beat the odds.
That's right.
Because he was my student. I love you, man.
I appreciate you. That's awesome. That is awesome. That's good. I do wish when I was waiting for my license to come in because the CSLB kind of. Anyways, I didn't get my license like 9 months after I passed. It took a while. I was like, I wish I would have did a sole proprietorship because it'd have been so much cheaper. And then I realized you just reapply and you don't have to take the exam again. If you're going to start a corporation and you're going to get a new license number, you don't have to take the exam again. The most difficult part is done. You just have to pay for it and fill out the paperwork and you're good. So yeah, I wish I would have done that, but I didn't. So I have a corporation. I'm an S corp now.
You won't be saying that in a year or two when the real money starts or more effort, your business starts booming, then you're like, man, I'm so glad I didn't do that. I'm so glad I started with a corporation.
So many people I know that got the sole proprietorship tell me that. They're like, I wish they're going through the process right now of turning it into a corporation. And they're like, oh, I wish I would have just did that from the beginning. And I was like, I'm a little broker because I did that in the beginning, But yeah, okay. So Hoping you're right there. That's awesome.
We'll keep up for sure.
So let's okay, so somebody signs up with you guys. They're like, "Hey, this is awesome. I want it." What can they expect from your school?
All right. First thing that happens after you enroll, of course, you get a receipt in your email. That's automatic. You get login information because no matter what course you'd end up enrolling, whether it's home study, because we have a couple options, you're going to have to visit our website to check it out. But if you do home study or full online or in class or whatever you choose, you're going to get login. Why do we do that? We send your login information because, a student account was created for you. That's where you're going to get your online practice exams. Remember how I said earlier, we are an exam preparation school. So our job is to help you pass the state test, nothing more.
Yep.
And you're going to find those practice exams online. Well, my friend got them on a printed somewhere, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you know why we keep them online? Because they're constantly being updated. We call them live documents. You take the exam one night, the next day you'll see some new questions or some new changes or some updates that occurred, and we keep them online. That way all of our students have access to the latest and greatest at all times. So after you enroll, you get your receipt, you get your student login information, and of course in the mail we'll send you a hard copy of the application, which with instructions, of course. And then it's about getting through the application first, which is something you want to prioritize more than anything, and then the studying, the strategy. Our program is built in such a way where you can either do it all yourself or you can ask for help. Either or. I'm more than happy. Get me on the phone, get Hector on the phone, get anybody on the phone here, and we'll talk you through a proper study strategy, something that's been proven to work over time and time again. Either I'll tell you over the phone, I can send you an email with that, or there's already videos baked into your student account that tell you how to complete it from zero to license.
Nice. That is awesome. I do like the online portion. I like that I could just study it on my phone. I could study on my computer. I could study it wherever. And I do want to say I like that there was if I wanted to read the information, I could read it. If I wanted to listen to it, I could listen to it. And if I wanted to watch it, I could watch it. And it's basically all the same information in those three forms. And I thought that was such an awesome touch to your guys' school. And it made it so much easier because sometimes I want to read and sometimes I don't want to read. Sometimes I just, if I could just listen to it while I'm working and then watch it later or read it later, it just helps solidify it in my mind. How important are those practice tests in regards to all the other information that you guys provide, all the teaching? Like
that's the $1 million question right there. Very good. Very cool. Check this out. So we carefully craft our courses. In other words, the way you asked that question just makes me want to answer it right away. So why am I stretching it out? Why am I stalling? I'm stalling. Okay, I'm stop stalling. The practice exams are 75%. They represent 75% of your preparation. If you go only into our practice tests and master them, you have 75% of the knowledge for the state exam. The reading, the videos, the audios you were just discussing, that's about 30% of the information. In my strategy, I will never recommend you do one or the other. I will always recommend everything because we are the shortcut for your preparation. That's why so many of our students pass in their first attempt. 98% of our students actually pass in their first try.
Nice.
Sometimes it's higher.
Yeah. And Andrew, I just want to highlight, you said 75%. So is that
Did I say 75? I meant to say 70. Wow.
70,
I don't know where that extra 5%.
Okay.
I apologize. 70-30, 70-30. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
70% of the material you need will come from the practice exam.
Thank you for the clarification. I was just too excited about it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the other thing I just want to highlight, and this is a conversation I have with students as well, is, hey, listen, I'm glad that the practice exams are there to help you out. And I'm speaking to, the listeners right now, is that they're excited to join, they want to get started. And, I'm glad that practice exams are there. But for me as an instructor, what's really important to me is that you understand the concepts of what you're trying to learn. Because at the end of the day, and you kind of said it, Ruben, earlier, it's like, look, I just want to practice. I just want to pass this exam and put it behind me once I'm done with it, right? And I have that conversation. I'm honest with my students. Like, look, this is only for a temporary period of time. After that, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job on the field because, I can't tell a nail from a hammer. I'm just kidding. I can't. But, my point is, I'm not here to tell you how to do your job in the field, but I am here to tell you that right now, for the short period of time in your life, you need to understand what the CSLB wants you to know based on the concepts that they provided so that you can use our material and just kind of fast track that to essentially get to the answers that you want. And to elaborate even more on that is that I don't want you, being straight up, I don't want you to practice the exams, memorize them, and then just know the questions and the answers. Because I guarantee you that's not going to work for you. Yes, our material is great, but the CSLB is going to ask the same questions in a different way, right? Different manner. So if I give you like, hey, here's the concept, here's how it works and why it works, and et cetera, right? No matter what way they phrase those questions for you when you go take the exam, you're going to know the answer, right?
Yep.
So that's it. That's it. Just do that for me for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months, whatever it takes. And then once you're done with that, you can put it behind you, right?
Yep.
So just something I really want to emphasize because a lot of people students that come to this school, that have come from another school, are like, well, do you have the answers to the exam? I'm like, no, it's illegal. There's no way we can have, the state exam questions, right? So that was it. Really important to me that you guys understand the concepts. Once you understand the concepts, and I said this to a student earlier today, is like, nobody can take that away from you. Once you've learned it, nobody can take that away from you. So yeah, that's it.
That's awesome.
A little loud, but it's just something I care about. So.
Well, it's important because anytime I'm talking to somebody about taking a journeyman exam with a C10, it's always, where do I get practice tests? Where do I get practice tests? And although they helped me out a lot, I went through each of those practice tests probably like maybe 3 or 4 times each. I don't know if you guys have access to my account, but don't look and verify that. It's like half of once. But yeah, I did. And going through them really helped me understand some of the material that was being taught and solidify it in my mind. Because after I went through the tests, I'm like, okay, there was a section that talked about that. Let me go back and listen or watch that video. And those two things working together really help solidify these things in my mind. So that's really good stuff, what you said there.
Yeah, and I would say it's human nature for us to want to go the easy route. I mean, nobody really wants to go through hard stuff, right? So yes, everybody's like, okay, great, I'm just going to go and take the practice exams and that's it, and I'm going to pass. And unfortunately, it doesn't always work out that way, right? That's why there's those 4 years of journeyman level experience to fill in that gap of like, hey, this is what we have for you, but also remember that they expect you to know some of this based on your own personal 4 years of experience or more, right? Yeah. But I kind of got sidetracked here. My point is, just I actually forgot my point. So
you're good.
Can I do it?
Yeah, go for it.
A little summary there. It's like starting a new workout program. There's beginner, intermediate, and advanced. We are an exam preparation school for the advanced. You have the experience. You're not a novice in the field. A novice in the field needs to obtain that knowledge and experience first. We started with this a little bit earlier on in this conversation where you said the law is somewhere where a lot of people struggle. Well, it makes sense. You're working in the field. You already have this skill and knowledge, but you don't run that business side. You always had a boss or somebody who got the leads or scheduled or what have you. You just showed up, work your magic because you're still the best at what you do. And then I need to know about that business side now. So again, we'll fill in what we need for you to pass the test. And as I always say in class, I won't make you a better lawyer. I won't make you a better builder or electrician or plumber. But I sure as hell will help you pass the test.
Heck yeah. That's all I want. Just help me pass that test.
That's it. Yeah. And it just came back to me. So you had mentioned the ways that we offer the type of learning, right? Yep. So we acknowledge that people learn differently, right? Some people are kinesthetic learners, some are auditory learners, meaning like they listen, right? And then visual learners by watching videos. So we kept that in mind, right? That's why our program is set up that way to help people in any way that they absorb material best. So, and most, I mean, you said this before, Andrew, right? Like most contractors are, they like to work with their hands, right? So they like to make sure that they're using something where it's like, hey, I'm accessing the material whether
Yep.
it's the book, right, or it's the mobile app, right? And a quick tidbit: the advantage of the mobile app is like, hey, if I'm an electrician and I'm just doing my job, I'm gonna put these headphones on. I'm gonna listen to Contractors Intelligence School while I'm, not getting shocked, hopefully. So
Hopefully.
yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, cool. Let me I did ask if anybody had any questions. There was a couple of questions. One I asked the audience that listens if they have any questions. And one of the questions somebody asked was would having a felony hinder anything in the process of getting a contracting license? If you guys know of any of that information.
You want to take that one, Hector?
Yeah. I'll answer the best way I can. So, two things. One, I actually just spoke with a student who passed, and they were actually caught by the CSLB. They were part of one of those things, right?
Oh,
So, automatically lands you with the misdemeanor. Yeah, it's not a felony, right? But to answer your question, the CSLB can be very forgiving. Of course, they'll factor in a couple things with what that might be, right? So, from my understanding, and Andrew, you can help me out a little bit here, is that, if it's like money fraud or embezzlement, something like that, might not work, right? They might not, because once again, we're covering a lot of business, right? This
yeah.
is the things that are like ethical that you need to make sure you're clear on.
You're
Right?
dealing with clientele. All right, so let me try to step in here then. If you have a felony, all felonies, there's a certain amount of time that has to pass after felony and after a misdemeanor. 4 years for misdemeanors, 7 or 8 years after a felony.
Okay.
But even though that's the case, you can still apply. I know certain contractors that have obtained their contractor's license with a very long rap sheet, multiple felonies and such. But like Hector said, the state takes things into consideration. In other words, when you go do your live scan fingerprinting as part of the application or licensing process, they're going to see that in your history. They will send you a letter to fill out. Can you provide us the details? What happened? When did it happen? And what did you do to better yourself? Is there anyone from the community that can vouch for you or and such? So the answer, it really depends on the severity of the crime. So as kind of was saying, if there's fraud involved, embezzlement or murder, because you're dealing with clients, and home improvement is being the most prominent in California. There's almost 40 million people. So a lot of contractors deal with home improvement, not commercial, not new construction, but primarily home improvement. And that's what the CSLB is there to protect, the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a felony, you could apply, but the best thing you can do is reach out directly to the Contractor State License Board. If you don't know how to do that, you can go on their website, cslb.ca.gov. Very large wealth of information regarding details like this. You can even look into an application itself with the 13, 14 pages in the beginning. There's an entire page dedicated to that. But so the short answer is, yeah, you can apply even with a felony. Just make sure you're not one of them murderers, trying to kill me in my sleep.
Please don't murder anybody.
Yeah, please. Not a healthy look.
So kind. Yeah. So just don't murder anybody. Nice. So that's it. Yeah. I actually have a friend who's a contractor, and they put him on like a 3-month probation when he got his contracting license. And because he got, I don't know, I think got out of jail or prison like within the last 3-4 years. But he's doing really good now. He got a pretty successful contracting company. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great success story. Because I was just also thinking, like Andrew mentioned, the CSLB exists to protect consumers, right? So, but that doesn't mean that the CSLB doesn't want you to succeed. They want to make sure that, in a sense, they're a venue, a way for you to get to that success, right? Meaning like, hey, we want you to get the contractor's license. You just got to, check the boxes. And then at the end of the day, if you check all those boxes, it's really up to you. It's your will,
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say like, yeah, I know you started at the beginning with like or maybe I started, in my head about the story that I tell myself, right? And like a lot of people discredit blue collar because it's like no education, but man, there's so much success in blue collar. Even if you have a felony, misdemeanor, like that's no reason to not apply, to do the research, to get curious, to contact us as well to see if, hey, we have come across this before. We're going to help you out.
That's awesome. Yeah, your guys' organization is super helpful. So I do recommend if anybody has any questions about their felony or something, you could reach out to the CSLB, of course, and read their information. But I would reach out to the Contractors Intelligence School and just get all the information you could because they're super helpful. That's awesome. Another question somebody asked is, I'm going to try not to take too much of your guys' time. I do appreciate you guys setting time aside for this. Um, if let's say somebody takes your course and they're a procrastinator, like many of us electricians are, um, and it's I don't know the 15th month, maybe they failed the test twice, maybe they really didn't go through the information. Their course is over. Is there any help you guys offer somebody that has just been in that position where maybe it's fear, whatever the reason is, they have 3 months left to go, they took their course, I don't know, almost a year ago. Is there any help or aid that your guys' school offers to that particular type of student?
Okay, I want to take this one because on a daily basis, I'm dealing with students who are in a very similar predicament. And I would say 9 out of 10 times, it's because life, meaning work, got in the
Yep.
way. I was on fire when I enrolled. I filled out the application. I sent it in right away. I got accepted. Now I have to study. But once I started the process of studying and preparation, that's when my boss called me out on our job that's now 400 miles away, 800 miles away. Now we have to take a flight to our new job, spend a couple months there, and so on and so on. And this 1 month, couple weeks of preparation has now been extended to what you just said, 11 months or a year, or sometimes like 3 years later. Oh, hey, Andrew, remember me? I'm still going for my license. And a lot of times that's when I have a serious conversation. I say, hey, look, you need to analyze your circumstances right now.
Hmm.
You're going to have to really try hard right now for the next couple weeks. Because remember this phrase, Rome was not built in a day. Your studying isn't done in a weekend. Well, some people do it. I think they're
On
amazing for
drugs?
doing
Oh,
it. Or maybe Adderall, I don't know, or something like that. But I say, look, if you have to sit down with your family, your friends, and start talking to them and figure out some times in the day, whether it's waking up an extra hour earlier or maybe after work. Usually I say do it in the morning. I don't know how you guys function. Some people are night owls. Some people function in the morning early. I personally like mornings. And
yep.
squeeze in that extra practice test. Squeeze in what really I just establish a strategy with them because I really try to tailor the strategy to the individual. So if I was talking to you, I'd give you a completely different answer than I was talking to Billy, Joe, Bob, or something.
Yep.
So it really depends. The answer is, yeah, you lose that motivation. You need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps and get back on it. Get to the strategy we recommend. If you want to know what that strategy is, you might have to enroll.
Oh, I like it. That's good. You sure this guy isn't the advertising guy right here? I think he's trying to take your spot, bro. No, that is an awesome answer because it doesn't. What matters is if you've lost that fire, if you lost that drive, and if you're just not putting in the work, it's not going to happen. If you lost that motivation, so that is an awesome answer. Thank you for that. I have two more questions. One question is, and this is a quick, you can answer it quickly. What, how much time do you think somebody actually needs to study if they took your program? How much time a day and for how many weeks or months do you think the average person should study to pass the exam?
Should. If they followed the absolute recommendation, everything hinges on that application, going back to sending it to the state. Because really what you're doing is you're sending an application, you're waiting for them to respond within a couple weeks. Usually it's about 3-4 weeks at the most. Using that waiting period is what you should to study. You should use that time to study and prepare. So realistically, you can complete everything within 6 to 8 weeks.
Nice.
And that's like 30 minutes a day.
Nice. That also sold me when I was on the phone with the guy. I was like, how much do you have to study? I'm thinking like 5 hours for 6 months, you know? So-
What are you
and he was
training
like,
training to be an astronaut? What's going on?
it might be, I mean, maybe. But yeah,
Nice.
okay, so that's awesome. I like that because 30 minutes a day. I mean, granted, you could throw an hour in there if you want, but I think being able to see that for somebody like, oh, 30 minutes a day, I could do 30 minutes a day for 6 to 8 weeks, right? Before I lose that fire. My ADHD takes me in a different direction. Awesome. That's an awesome
Well,
answer.
and even in, on your commute to work, right? You could pop that into your phone, right? Open up the app. If you have Bluetooth in your car, start
Yeah.
listening to it, right? So it's fairly accessible. It's super easy. It's just
Yeah.
Just on that note, I actually have a lot of students who say, "Hey, I'm always driving to work. It's about an hour or two away. I'm always on those audios." Okay, that's great. But you know what I see just from experience? Contractors are visual learners.
Mm.
So when I make a recommendation for studying, it's usually for the video courses. But the
I did
audios
the
are great
majority
too.
of it video.
Videos are just amazing. Just I
Yeah.
see it, I can almost touch it. I know what's going on.
Yeah. No, for me, I needed the videos. I want to see who the heck is this guy telling me this stuff. I don't trust him. No, the videos helped. The pictures, the imagery. Because sometimes you're listening to something, you don't understand the words that are being, what's being described. So that's awesome. Yeah. All right. So is there anything you guys want to say before I ask the final question? Anything else you guys want to throw out there?
I'll say that we do offer courses as well. Some of our material is in Spanish. So if there's any Spanish speaking audience members, we have that available as well in Spanish. And, one thing that sticks out to me is that we're actually the most affordable contractor prep exam school here. So just something to think about. A lot of people might discredit because it's so affordable.
Yeah.
And, believe it or not, I hear more often than not from other students coming from, oh, I paid more at this school, but yeah, you guys do more for me here.
Yep.
That's the one thing that stands out all the time when students are giving feedback. Like, yeah, if I have any questions, I can call you guys. We do the crash course as well in person. So it's not like a pre-recorded anything like that. Although we do have our own archive if somebody missed their live stream. So yeah, I guess that's all I can think about for now. Andrew?
I love you.
Nice. That, that's all the world needs right there is love. You want to pass this exam? Just need a little bit of love.
You got to be serious. If you're serious about this, don't hesitate. Take that next step. It's a small drop in the bucket is really what it is. And the licensing process is just getting through the red tape, this speed bump, as I like to call it, in your life. Because once you're over it, you're like, wow, that was way easier than I thought. Now it's just about growing, constantly being curious. How can I grow my business? Because there is no set answer. If there was a path to follow, we'd all be following it. But you have to make your own path.
Nice. Well said. I lied. I got one more thing. Do you guys want to share the promo code before I know you guys mentioned something about that or what that is? If you guys don't have the information, I could just put it in the show notes, but I think that's on
Yeah.
Hector.
Yeah, no, definitely. So if anybody's interested in, checking us out, obviously give us a buzz at 1-866-845-5969. Now we created a special promo code for any of the listeners of your podcast, and it's going to be promo.contractorsischool.com, which we'll add, I'm sure, in the description box that they can go to, a simple link. And the promo code is going to be TYE24, which stands for the Young Electrician 24. So that's
Nice.
TYE 24. Make sure you guys add that in there to the promo code. And if you happen to call, let us know. And we'll make sure we honor that as well. So, yeah.
And what is the promo code for?
So people will get $50 off one of their courses. Whatever course they choose, they'll get $50 off.
Nice. And if whoever does that, if you guys are so grateful about and you don't know what to do with the money you guys saved, the $50, you could send it to me. No, I'm just playing. Okay, last question, and then I'm gonna let you guys get back to enjoying your life. All right, so I'm gonna set a scenario here. Let's say you guys are it's after work or maybe after an event, you guys are hanging out, you guys are super excited. let's just say you're at some bar somewhere. Not saying you guys drink, might just be there playing pool, chopping it up, and you guys are talking about electrical code and business and stuff like that. And you guys get this crowd around you, and everybody's excited. You're talking about electrical theory and stuff like that, and everybody's just excited. And then you see two guys at the corner of the bar. They turn around, and they kind of giving you dirty looks. You look over, and for some reason, you recognize who this is. I'm going to butcher these names. One of the guys is Alessandro Volta, who invented the first battery, I believe. And I think where we get the word volt from, right? And the second person is George Ohm, where we get Ohm's law. And they're looking over and they're pissed because you guys are still in, no pun intended, their thunder, right? They were the electrical guys. Everybody was crowding around them. All the electrical information was coming from them. But now you guys got there, you guys started talking, and you guys stole their thunder. And they're pissed. They look at you, they stand up, they roll their sleeves up, and they're coming after you. I want to know who's going to win in a bare knuckle brawl between you guys and versus Alessandro Volta and George Ohm. Who's going to win? No backing down. They're coming after you.
So that's an easy one. You know how we started that workout program, Hector?
Yep.
Yeah. See, that's what I mean. It's going to be pretty straightforward here. And you know what? The best part is we'll actually clean up after ourselves, unlike those Sparkies.
Ooh. I do not clean up after myself. That's what the apprentice is for. So I'm thinking you guys are saying you're gonna win. Is that what I'm hearing?
I would say so. 100%. Yeah. I'm a first degree white belt in jiu-jitsu, so yeah.
Okay. I like it. That's what I want to hear. I like that answer. Nice bar fight brawl. You versus, I'm not going to say their names again because I'm going to butcher it. You know how hard it was for me to figure out how to say their names. I was like, how do I get this down? So I just wrote it down. I was going to forget.
Don't forget, they were posers. That's how we knew. That's how we knew we were going to win. They weren't real. They're gone. Unfortunately, they did made a large contribution, but hey, that's how we knew we were going to win. They were posers.
That's right. You guys ain't losing no fights and no posers. Right? Hey, I appreciate you guys so much for coming onto this podcast and for just giving this information. Hector, for actually reaching back out to me, because I was like, I'm just going to message you and see. I did not expect a response. So thank you for responding. That is awesome. I greatly appreciate what you guys are doing. I genuinely appreciate your guys' school. So I just want to give you that encouragement to keep it up because you guys are making a huge difference in a lot of people's lives. You made a huge difference in my life and my family's life. And I'm just extremely grateful for what you guys do. So appreciate you guys. And I guess we'll say our goodbyes.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks for having us. Really grateful. You know, those last words you just mentioned, like help your family. Honestly, I would say that really is what fuels me, you know, helping other people make those positive changes in their life. So super happy to hear that. And there was one last thought, but now it, went away. So, the eagle flew over Rhode Island to eat pie, Andrew. That's it.
There you go.
Ohm's law. That's the way we teach it. But Ruben, thank you so much, because when you guys succeed, I know we've succeeded. And that's really what keeps me going, even doing this for a decade already. I love it, and I'll never stop. I love you guys. Awesome.
You too. All right, guys, I'll let you go. Have a good one.
All right, Ruben. Have a good one.
All right, cheers.